Student loan debt will soon be over $2 trillion, but with all the pandemic relief that the government has put in place with the pandemic, does it actually make sense to pay off your federal student loans? That's what I'm going to talk about in today's video, and stick around until the end to see the amount of money I still have left in student loans and whether or not I might be paying these off. The answer to pay off your student loans can vary person to person, but right now we're going to talk about a few general ideas that you may want to consider on how to pay off your debt.
I declare bankruptcy!
Bankruptcy usually doesn't get rid of student loans, so we're just going to ignore that one for now. About 92% of that $2 trillion in student loan debt are loans that are held by the federal government, which means all of these loans do not have any interest. They're at 0% until September 30th, 2021. For anyone who got laid off or had a reduction of hours due to the pandemic, this is definitely helpful for all of these loans to be moved to forbearance, meaning that you no longer have to make a payment, and to also have them at 0% interest so that your loans don't grow even more. With 92% of the student loan debt being held by the federal government, the other 8% are private loans, so this is going to be loans held by big banks, credit unions, any place that really isn't the federal government that'll loan you out money. Hopefully not a loan shark though.
I hope you know what you're doing, because I'll bust your head with a sledgehammer.
You'll get your money back.
The big catch with these right now is that only federally held student loans are in forbearance status. Now there is a chance that if you do have a nice bank or a credit union, they might have been able to work with you during this time if you could prove that you had some type of income loss or something along those lines. But they didn't have to. They could keep charging you their 6, 7, who knows what ungodly interest rate that you had with a private student loan. I have seen some of my friends pay off some of their privately held student loans, and that is absolutely awesome. You would want to, at this point in time, pay off those loans because they're still earning interest, whereas your federally held student loans, you can go to those next. If you don't have any private student loans, or you just finished paying them off and now you're going to your federally held student loans, it's time to decide if you should actually pay these off. To help with determining this, I'm going to use some numbers from a survey that NerdWallet just did at the end of 2020 with over 2,000 adults and their financial situation, so let's look at these. From this survey, the average household has about $150,000 of any type of debt, a little over $7,000 in credit card revolving debt, which is a very specific type of credit card debt, $195,000, almost $200,000 for a mortgage, almost $30,000 in auto loans, and about $60,000 in student loans. So that's a lot of debt. If you're in this scenario or anything close to it, hopefully you have a decent income to be able to handle all this debt, since it is a good amount. Now, even if you don't have a mortgage, we can exclude that one since that's probably a 30 or 15-year mortgage. You have plenty of time to pay it off, and it's a really big amount. So let's focus on the auto loans, student loans, and credit cards. With these and these amounts, I would absolutely recommend paying off your credit cards before anything else. These are probably going to be at a crazy interest rate, somewhere between 14 and 30%, which is god-awful for an APR and a credit card, but you might have it, sadly. This debt payoff method will also make Dave Ramsey proud that I'm saying it, because you'd be picking the smallest amount to the largest amount. That's how he prefers to pay off debt and how he preaches people to pay off debt. That's what this is sort of going after, but you're also tackling the smallest amount here of that $7,000 or so with credit cards, and it also has the highest interest rate. So it is a win-win, whichever way or whichever payoff method you do want to go about. I'll eventually be doing a video on Dave Ramsey's baby steps and whether or not I agree with them or whether or not I follow them, so definitely be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out when I do actually post that video. Before I show my student loans, I do just want to provide 2 quick tips for anyone who's considering going to college. First off, definitely be sure to apply for the FAFSA. That is how you actually apply for federal and state grants, so free money for you. And then that is also how you can get the federally held student loans, both subsidized and unsubsidized, but that's for a different video. Secondly, if you do need to take out debt, it's probably smart to go with the federal route before private loans, but it's also recommended that you do not exceed what your starting salary in your career would be in a loan amount. If you think the starting salary for your career is going to be $30,000 or $40,000, it might not be worth it to take $250,000 out in student loans because it's going to take you a really long time to pay that off, even if you budget really, really well. If you made it this far, thank you for watching through the video, and now we get to talk about the amount of student loan debt that I have. Now, when you do have federally held student loans, they are actually sent out to multiple servicers, and the one who I have had for the past several years has been Great Lakes. They've been pretty good to work with after I consolidated, set up auto pay for a lower rate and all that fun stuff, but as of March 2020, I had $3,000 in student loans remaining. With all the pandemic relief that they put in and putting loans in forbearance and 0% interest, my loan has basically just been moving its payoff date. Before it was near the end of 2020, then it was the beginning of 2021, and now it's September 30th, 2021. The day before these loans will actually start earning interest again, I'm just gonna write I'd say check, but no one uses check. At least my generation doesn't use checks anymore. I'm just gonna send the government the $3,000 and then be done with it. But until then, I'm gonna have money in stocks earning me dividends, or I'm just going to have the money in a Discover savings account earning me a 0.4% interest rate. If you do wanna see other awesome savings accounts, check out the video that I'll put in the little tag thing up there. Now, a 0.4% interest rate definitely isn't a lot, but it's better than 0%, and why give the government money when I can just be making money on the side? So that's what I'm doing. If your only debt is student loans, so you don't have any revolving credit card debt, you don't have a mortgage, your car is paid for, and your only debt really is student loans, while you have this 0% interest rate, it's probably gonna be a good idea to actually pay them off, because it's gonna pay off some of your debt. If you're trying to buy a house in the future, or you're trying to get a car loan or something, the less debt that you have on your credit report is definitely going to help you out in the future. If the government extends the September 30th, 2021 date even further, I'm just gonna keep my money invested, or I'm just gonna keep more money in the savings account to eventually pay for these student loans, but they're not getting the money any sooner than that date that they pick, or maybe one day earlier, because I don't want interest on these anymore. That wraps it up for this week's video. Thank you so much for watching until the end. Please consider subscribing to the channel if you have not done so already. I post a new video every week, so definitely be sure to hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on that either. And until next week's video, please, as always, be sure to be smart with your money.